The number of banned books in schools continues to increase. The number of black teachers, particularly black male social studies teachers, continues to decrease. And that's a big problem. It could be incredibly harmful to our youth, in fact. First of all, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, social studies teachers only make up about 7% of the entire teacher workforce. And then when you break that down by race, 94% of social studies teachers are white, and just 3% are black men. Joining me now is Bettina Love. She is the William F. Russell Professor at Teachers College at Columbia University, and she is the author of an amazing upcoming new book. It's called Punished for Dreaming: How School Reform Harms Black Children and How We Heal. Bettina, always good to see you. Why is there such a disparity between white teachers and black teachers in general?
Well, thank you, Mark, for having me on today. It's really good to see you. There has been policies since Brown versus the Board of Education that has really pushed black teachers out of the profession. So before Brown, there was almost pretty much in southern states, black teachers made upwards to 30 to 50% of all teachers in the segregated South before Brown. After Brown, there were so many policies put in place, new testing put in place, new board procedures put in place that got pretty much eradicated teachers out of the profession. And so for the last 10 years, almost the last 40 years, we haven't seen the black teaching population over 10%. And so it's also how much teachers make. If I'm a first generation college student, I really don't want to make $40,000 a year. Almost 1 out of 5 teachers moonlight in this country. And if you look at teacher pay, it hasn't really kept in pace of most professions. So when you think about, if I'm a black student, first generation, I'm not really want to go into a profession that makes $40,000. So we have deprofessionalized this profession so much that it's not appetizing to many students who actually want to be teachers, but can't put up with the pay, can't put up with the being deprofessionalized. And also, if you look at the current media, we have teachers being attacked. We have teachers losing their jobs for teaching social studies. So it is a profession right now that is deeply key to democracy, but also under attack.
Now, I'm of the position that we need black men and black women in these classrooms. I don't want to make black men the saviors to black education. There's no reason why we need black men and not black women. However, at the same time, I'm noticing that the numbers seem even more scarce for black men in education, and particularly in social studies. What are the factors that make black men even less sort of prevalent in this field?
Well, what we know is that typically when you have black male teachers in schools, they are seen as the disciplinarians. They're not seen as intellectuals. They're not seen as pedagogues. They're seen as individuals who should be breaking up fights, who should be dealing with disciplinary issues. So many black male teachers don't see themselves as teachers in the classroom. So that's one of the big factors. Also, I have a dissertation student, a doctoral student, just finished a dissertation. His name is Alex Chisholm, and he did research on social studies teachers. And what he found was that many of them enter through coaching. And that's one way that we see an increase in social studies teachers is through coaching. And so when you have
when you say through coaching, what do you mean by through coaching?
Through basketball, through sports, through football. And so that's how you have many of these teachers who are social studies teachers, but they're also the football coach.
So a black guy wants to be the basketball coach, and they got to give him a job. And I always thought it was the gym teacher, but I guess in addition to teaching phys ed, they also now, social studies, history, whatever, it becomes the other area that they put black men in.
Yes. And so that's another entry point. But we also know that with sports, there's seniority. So there's not many ways in which you get a lot of black coaches at these schools because coaches go through seniority. So there's a lot of ways in which black males are prohibited and excluded from the profession of teaching and teaching the subject matter of social studies.
Why is social studies so important to learn anyway? Because there's people out there right now that say, I need my baby to learn how to read. I need my baby to learn how to count. You know, social studies is cool, but that ain't at the top of the list. What do you say to those people?
Well, social studies is the core of democracy. It's not just about you learning a policy or learning a law or learning history. To have a person of color, particularly a black male in front of the classroom teaching social studies, is an example of civics, how to be civically engaged in this country, how to think about voting, how to think about protests, how to think about participating in democracy. So it's not just about reading. Yes, that's important. And I would also add that social studies is math, is reading, is science, it's all of the subject matters. But it also teaches Black students how to take part in democracy and how to be a part of this country for change.
There's a new study that found, a national study, in fact, that found that children who are taught by teachers of the same race develop better learning and better problem-solving skills by the time they turn 7 years old. I'm thinking, particularly after the pandemic, where we had some slides, right? In the same way there was like summer slide every year where, you know, kids who didn't go to school would lose some of the literacy skills and such. During the pandemic, we saw even bigger gaps for Black and brown kids. How important is it then to have teachers of the same race? Let's take gender off the table for a second. Just having Black women and Black men teaching Black children. How important is that?
Well, there's so much data. You know, we're in a country that always talks about data, and we have so much data that says when you have a teacher of the same race or a Black teacher teaching Black students, discipline issues go down. We see an increase in graduation. When you see Black students who learn about themselves and learn about their history, we see more participation, higher graduation rates. So when you want to talk about data, we have a profundity of data that says when you put a Black woman, Black man in front of those teachers, in front of those students, you get results. And if we want to talk about slides and graduation rates and achievement gaps, we know how to decrease that gap. And that's through the hiring and the retaining of Black educators.
So how do we get there? What do we do? How do we solve this problem?
You know, Mark, it's an issue. It's not going to be solved with one or two, three policy changes. I think number one, we have to make the profession of teaching something that's desirable. We have to make it, number one, pay. You're not going to go to school and have $60,000 worth of loans and come out and make $40,000. So we have to really look at teacher pay. We have to really look at testing and all the measures that keep teachers out of the profession. We also have to give power back to teachers. And we have to have teachers' mental wellness as a concern, because if I'm a 17-year-old student and I'm thinking about becoming a teacher and I see my teacher burnt out, I see my teacher moonlighting, I see my teacher stressed, that's not really a profession I want to go into as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old. If I'm looking at the profession in front of my face every single day, burned out and stressed and underpaid. And so we don't sell this profession from the very beginning when students are in our faces. So teacher wellness, teacher pay, and we need a pipeline to the profession. If you want to become a teacher, you should not be paying for college. That should be off the table if you want to become a teacher.
That's a pretty persuasive argument. Y'all need to listen to Bettina Love, y'all. She knows what she's talking about. Make sure you also check out Bettina's new book. It is called Punished for Dreaming: How School Reform Harms Black Children and How We Heal. It's coming out soon. Make sure you check it out. Bettina, always good to see you. Thanks so much for joining me.